What's good, everybody? Welcome in to the Early Edge, your daily sports betting brand of record. We are powered, as always, by the almighty SportsLine, the best value in all sports betting, and it is not close. Now, we got a lot of good news today. We got a lot of bad news today, but we tell you all the time, when you're a sports betting brand that goes every single day, multiple times a day, you're going to have one show where you were off just a little bit. Yesterday was off. Wasn't horrible, but we were off. Ohio State, 3-point lead, 1 minute to go. You can't hang on to that. Sometimes you got to be a little bit more lucky than good. And by the way, I already see somebody in the chat asking about a round 2 matchup. You will get one, and I'm going to put it out on Twitter after the show. So you need to go to my Twitter page for a round 2 matchup in the Century Tournament of Champions. But if you watched our very first golf episode, then right now you're sitting pretty, as exactly as I predicted is happening so far through round number 1. Now, as I mentioned, a busy day at the brand. In addition to our morning show, special start time for Early Edge in 5 at 3:30 Eastern time. That's because Week 18, Prop Spectacular, 4 p.m. Eastern time, Props Darcia and Uncle Day. So there's very few things that can pick us up after a bad day. But I tell you, one thing that can always pick me up is Big Pick Energy Friday. Let's go. Oh, baby. Oh, let's go. Now, first and foremost, he is the reason this is called Big Pick Energy Friday. Welcome back after a week off last week to Chip Patterson. Good morning, Chip.
Good morning, Coach. Good morning, Buckets. Good morning, Early Edge family. Yes, we had my toddler ended up not being able to go to school, so I, spending the day with him. I asked if he wanted to come on the Early Edge. He said, "Dad, will you just go take me to the Holiday Invitational?" So I took him to go see some high school basketball, right? You got to spend a little father-son time when you can get it, especially when it's a surprise. Thank you. I know y'all held it down in my absence, but fired up to be back at it. We got the national championship coming up. We got a big college hoops weekend, and ready to break it down with y'all.
You're damn right. Speaking of spending time with your kids, I have 6 hours, 5 hours in between this show and the next show. Do you know what I'm doing? As soon as I get off the air, I'm taking my son to the club, and we're going to play golf.
Yeah.
In that window. You've got to figure out the windows when you're a dad. You just have to do it. Now, you already mentioned the man. And I tell you what, I do not want to get anywhere near this guy, because right now he is absolutely on fire. So much so that he went to bed last night and said, you know what? Let's just throw out a little Australia soccer. I know, Chip. I mean, you can feel it through the screen. And he wakes up this morning with already a cash ticket in his back pocket. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the hottest soccer handicapper in the world. Buckets, good morning. Let's go.
Good morning, Coach. Good morning, Chip. There is nobody I would rather spend my Friday morning with than you two. We've been having a fantastic run since the end of the World Cup, so I think we should just keep it going. Doesn't sound too bad to me.
You're damn right. Let's keep it going. And you know what, guys? It's time for storylines that could affect the betting lines. And I'm going to start first, because all week we have been ravaged by all of these emotions that we're all living with because of our man, Mr. Hamlin and the Buffalo Bills. We got great news overnight. The breathing tube is out. He is speaking with his teammates. He is progressing. Unbelievable news. Now, for the football side of things, they decided late last night that the Bengals-Bills game will be a no contest. And if the Chiefs win this week, they will be the number 1 seed. Now, they are voting on it today, the owners, and it probably will pass, that if the Bills, Chiefs, or Bengals, any of that scenario is involved in the AFC Championship game, then it will be played at a neutral site. If it's Chiefs against the Chargers, it'll be played in Kansas City. So just monitor that. We'll have the full breakdown. But it's great news. And I don't think you're going to hear any teams complain. It's not a perfect scenario, but it is what it is. And damn it, the man is breathing on his own. Let's go. Now, Buckets. Isn't that great news?
I mean, just like you said, it's been just a roller coaster, Yeah. Everyone's got sort of their own experiences or ways they're dealing with it or coping with it. But the fact that all of these updates have moved in a positive direction and now we're here, it's just awesome.
Amazing. And I don't want to stop the show, but Buckets, there was a scenario in soccer, and his last name was Erickson, I believe.
He
had a heart attack. He is back playing now, correct?
It took a very long year of recovery, but he's back playing at the highest level, and it was an incredible recovery story for Erickson.
So it can happen. It can happen, but he is breathing on his own, and, man, we're excited about it. Can you imagine the emotion that's going to be in Buffalo this week when the Patriots come to town to take on the Bills? It's going to be like hair standing on your arms type of stuff. All right, now let's move on. I told you my man has been hot, but it's more than just about picks. You know our brand is not just about giving you picks and you go and playing them. It's about the information because everybody's going to win and lose, but you got to have the information. And sometimes you'll see a team and go, oh, they're a really good team, and then you go, oh, they're playing for a cup. There's a lot of differences in what's going on in the world of soccer, but we have buckets. Buckets, enlighten us, please.
Yeah, so when you're betting on a cup game, you basically have to take any logic and research and just knowledge you have about that team and just toss it out the window because it really doesn't matter for a lot of these teams. We saw earlier this week, Barcelona concede 3 times to CF Intercity, which is a team where the players aren't even full-time players. They play after their 9 to 5. We saw Real Betis down 1-0 at halftime to a team that even I can't pronounce. And we saw Bayern Munich lose 5-0 in the Pokal Cup last year. So all these teams that are fantastic usually don't really care about some of these cup games. So I am begging you guys, please be careful when you're betting on these cup games. When you see PSG play this afternoon, that is a team that is basically the equivalent of me, Coach, and Chip taking the pitch. That doesn't mean that they're going to win that game 0. They might score once, sub out everybody, and then just pass the ball around for 90 minutes. So just be careful. Try your best to wait for lineups if you can, and then just follow me, Brant, Martin on Twitter because we're always updating you guys on the best way to bet some of these weird cup games.
You clearly have never seen my footy skills. You've never seen my footy skills. By the way, I need to address something because I think people don't realize how many free picks you give out on Twitter because they're all asking, how come all these picks that we're talking about aren't up on SportsLine? Can you very quickly, Buckets, kind of explain how you do your Twitter picks and also your SportsLine articles?
Yes, so because we bet on soccer, we have hundreds of games that we can bet on, which means we can find value all over the place. So my favorite picks are always on my SportsLine articles that you can find on the SportsLine sites. I also do give out picks on the early edge, and it's kind of they're picks I still like, but the leftover ones I throw up on Twitter, the ones for the leagues like Australia at 3 a.m. where I can't talk about it with you guys on the show like I can today. Those are the ones that you're always going to find on Twitter. But Twitter, SportsLine, early edge, I'm kind of all over the place, so just got to look around.
You look for the analysis tab. Like that's the thing that I always do to go find Buckets picks. I could go on the SportsLine app, go to the analysis tab, pull up soccer. And you'll find it right there.
And Martin Green and Brand Sutton, our silent assassin. They're all 3 right there. Like Capper Taylor said, already cashed the Buckets ticket this morning. The easiest thing to do is follow our cappers, turn on the notifications. I've said it a million times because every time somebody makes a pick, whether it's Chip or Buckets, ding, and you look down and go, oh, Buckets just took some team in Turkey. And there you have it. There you have it. By the way, Chip, we're starting something we're going to call the here or there parlay. And when it's a team that's not in the Premier League, Bundesliga, Serie A, we're going to throw into a here or there parlay. It's going to start probably next week, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it. All right, now, we've got a national title game coming up in just 3 days. And I don't think anybody would have predicted it would be Georgia and TCU playing for the national title, but that's exactly what we have. Chip, start us off with the discussion on the national championship.
Yeah, this is a storyline that affects the betting lines, and I'm already going to get you started on the conversation really for title odds, because what this season has shown us is that when you're trying to consider who is in the mix for a national championship, you do not need to have that NFL draft maverick fighter pilot quarterback. Sometimes it's okay to be a good college quarterback, because who do we have? Stetson Bennett for Georgia and Max Duggan for TCU. We have Stetson Bennett, who, of course, his journey has been very well documented. Walk-on, junior college, comes back, leads the Dogs to their first national title in 40 years, has a chance to become one of the first back-to-back quarterbacks to lead his team to a national championship in a long time. Then on the other side, Max Duggan was not even the starting quarterback this year. Both of them end up as Heisman finalists, and that's why maybe you were thinking about Bryce Young. Maybe you were thinking about CJ Stroud. Like, you no longer have to look at that, because college football, that truly is, while it's a great passing game, while we have seen the offense evolve, when you're thinking about who can win the national title, take more into consideration than just looking for that future top 10 pick. Because, I mean, Will Levis is a future top 10 pick too, and they went 7-6 this year. So don't always be so NFL draft quarterback driven, because as we see with this title game matchup, it takes a lot more to be able to make the title game.
Educate and entertain. Educate and entertain. All right, Chip, we have an opportunity. You know, I'm always looking for opportunities to give away cash, right? Always like to give away $100 to somebody in the chat. So I need you, if you want to participate, I want you to write yes or no. And the question in 2 minutes is going to go to Buckets. If you think he will answer correctly, write yes. If you think he will answer incorrectly, write no. And then I will pick if he gets it right, I'll pick a winner and I will send you $100 cold hard cash. And as I always like to say, unlike every other show, no strings attached. So get ready, Buckets. Get ready. It's coming up in 2 minutes. I need yes or no in the chat. All right, let's get into it. Our board for the day. And we never run from a mediocre or bad day, because we're here every single day, 2 times, 3 times a day. So one play from SportsLine itself. And we're going to go with the Knicks plus the 4. I'm a little bit curious to this line, other than the fact that the Raptors blew out the Knicks in the same building, at Madison Square Garden a couple of weeks ago. But the Knicks been playing a little bit better, but this game is on the road. Otherwise, I think it'd be closer to even. So we're going to take the Knicks plus the 4, 7:30 p.m. Eastern start time. And by the way, I feel like I shouldn't have to do this anymore because we're so popular and you guys are doing the work for me, but I do. If you're not a SportsLine member, what are you doing? Let's go. But I'm going to do you a solid. You want Chip? You want Buckets? Hell, you want me? Hell, use the promo code EARLY, and I'm going to give you 30 days for free. You can get the national championship, NFL playoffs, you can get college basketball, you can get all of our soccer, you can get everything for free. Then after that, I'm going to charge you $1,000. $10 a month. 10. That's it. All right, let's get into our board for the day. And I told you, I would ask you a question, Buckets. The question is coming at you right here and right now. And do not say anything, Chip. In the chat, my man Robert says, what do Buckets and Randy Moss have in common? Straight cash, homie. Love the statement. But I'm guessing, Buckets, you have no idea what that is in reference to. Here is your question. Do you know the sport that Randy Moss played?
Can I say something real quick, Coach?
Yes.
I didn't know he was an athlete. I thought that was a singer. So I'm going to say no. And congratulations to everybody that doubted me in the chat.
The answer, it's not a yes or no question.
Oh.
It's not a yes or no question.
You said, do you know what sport he plays? No, I don't.
I'm asking you the sport that he plays. So I guess technically I did ask you a yes or no question. But I'm asking you, what sport does he play? Oh, my God.
Basketball.
Oh, my God.
Hey, well, he did. Technically he did, because he's one of the greatest athletes of our time. Hey, just check it up there, dog. I mean, listen, West Virginia's finest. Come on. Go fishing with the man. Let him teach you about life and football.
He played football, Buckets. And the reason I ask you that is, isn't there a soccer announcer, something named Randy Moss too? Oh my God! You don't even know your own sport. Oh, just stick to picks.
I don't know. I've seen the Matrix screens at Bucket setup. I see him as a mute guy. Yeah, I see him as a guy that's watching 4 games at once and then got music going in the background to get it all in.
Oh my God. Buckets, years ago, Randy Moss got fined and he was walking to his truck and the reporters asked him, how are you going to pay that fine? And he said, Chip,
straight cash, homie.
Straight cash, homie. One of the greatest lines in the history of sports. And you didn't know it. However, you do know your soccer, big boy. You do know your soccer. So let's get to it. You're going to start us off. What do you like today?
Man, I could spend all day talking about why the Turkish Super League is better than the Kazakhstani Premier League, but I don't know who Randy Moss is. It doesn't matter. Let's just go to the pay window. Everyone will forget. It's fine. I've got 2 picks for us here this afternoon, and we're going to be starting with kind of a weird one here. If you like watching the best of the best of the best, if you like watching perfect finesse, an incredible game, do not watch this game. Place the bet, turn off your TV, wait for 2 hours, cash the ticket. I'm looking at Racing Strasbourg versus Angers SCO in the Coupe de France French Cup. These are the 2 worst teams in all of France's Ligue 1. These are 2 teams that are going to be so focused on the relegation battle that they're not even going to care about this cup, and they're going to play all backups. So you've got the backups to the worst players in all of France playing for 90 minutes. It is going to be a horrific game. It will be an ugly game, but it's a game that's going to see goals because everyone's just going to kind of say screw it and go for it here. Both teams to score at -110 is tremendous value. And if you can't play the both teams to score, because I know I'm going to get asked this, play the over. I'm fine with over 2.5 on this game as well. It pays to watch, coach. And then for our second pick, we're going to the Portuguese Premier League, where we've got a classic matchup between Benfica Lisbon and Portimonense here at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Benfica Lisbon is a team that has lost a single game in their last 35 matches, and it happened last week. They lost an embarrassing 3-0 match to Braga in which they were the heavy favorites. So they are going to come out hungry in this game, and they are going to beat Porty to a pulp this afternoon. Take over 1.5 goals in the first half. It covers you if either team scores. They will probably both be from Benfica, but we get that at -105 here this afternoon.
What do you make of the over for the entire game? You don't like it? Like 3.25, 3.5?
I like it. I'm just a little worried because I don't think Portimonense is going to include any goals in this matchup. They're going to all have to come from Benfica. So I see this being like a 3-0, 4-0 game. So just be a little careful there.
Okay. By the way, it's funny you should use the word embarrassing in your take today after what just happened. Lori says, could we make this a regular feature? And my man down there says, Buckets, we will never forget. We will never forget.
I understand.
You're just the gift that keeps on giving. All right, it is my turn because you know who's got the maestro spot today. So I've been pretty good in my NBA lately. Last night, bad pick. It happens. 55%. It's pretty good. But I'm going to go back to the well one more time. I'm going with the Indiana Pacers tonight. Money line -117. I can believe we got this number under 2 or 3. The sports books just don't believe in the Pacers yet. But they are an over team, and they are turning into a really good team. And I'm going to get the Blazers traveling all the way to just lazy old Indiana, and we'll take the Pacers. All we got to do is win, -117. Then Cavs Nuggets over 221.5. Now, I know the Nuggets cashed for us last night, -5. They are playing great. They think they're good enough to win an NBA title. So do the Cavs. And last night, I watched a timeout. This is the kind of handicapping I do. And they played a little sound of the game from Nuggets head coach. And he said, let's keep it running. Let's get them tired. They're not used to the altitude. Well, guess where tonight's game is at, ladies and gentlemen? Right back in that same building. Donovan Mitchell coming off 70 points. Cavs playing really well offensively, too. The last couple of games, way to the over. So let's take the Cavs. Nuggets over 221.5. This is the lowest number you'll ever see for a Nuggets game all year. I promise you that. All right, it's time for me and Buckets to just get out of the way. It's a big weekend in the NFL, and we're going to be getting ready for Monday night. And TCU and Georgia. Chip, you're up.
All right, let's start right there with TCU and Georgia. Don't worry, I've got some Friday hoops for you and an answer for the chat coming up after this breakdown. Look, we do not stop. We do not stop riding the Horned Frogs. The Hypnotoad is real. The belief within this team is tremendous. This is a veteran-led team that has taken a first-year coach, not first-year overall, but Sonny Dykes arrives. Nearly the same group goes from 5-7 to 12-1. Now they're playing for the national title. That back door cannot be locked. It cannot be padlocked. It cannot be chairs stuffed up under it because Max Duggan will always lift himself up off the turf and continue to fight. We take TCU. We take the 12.5 because Georgia ain't blowing them out. But Georgia's probably going to win. Georgia is going to look at this game in terms of being risk averse. They know they've got a talent advantage. They know they've got a size advantage. They know they've got an athleticism advantage. And so I expect that Georgia will probably try to play a little bit ball control, that Georgia will try to manhandle TCU's defensive front with that excellent offensive line. What does that lead to? I think just a little bit less scoring than the total suggests. So we're also going to tack on the under 62.5. Lots of ways to win there. And finally, this is my number one favorite play for the entire national championship. Confidence in TCU plus 12.5. It's mostly vibes. Confidence in the under 62.5. Feel a little bit better about that. Lots of ways to win. But the stone cold lock for the national title game, Stetson Bennett over 10.5 rushing yards. Because here is what Kirby Smart is going to get in his ear and say. He's going to get up there and be, hey, listen, man, we don't need no risks here, all right? Okay? If you don't see that first look, you can just take off. Ain't nothing wrong with 4 yards, okay? 4 yards ain't going to hurt anybody because they looked at that Michigan game. How many pick sixes? 2 of them. And you consider that's not just a 14-point swing. Like that is a 21 to 28-point swing when you've got those pick sixes. Kirby is not going to let Stetson Bennett, who threw an interception against Ohio State and who has been a little bit loose with the ball at times, 7 interceptions on the year. He is not going to let Stetson Bennett blow this. He's going to tell Stetson, if you don't see that first look, feel free to take off and run. And I think that Stetson Bennett's going to do it. I was stunned that we got this at 10.5. Anything under 20, I would have felt good about. So my favorite play, the one that I'll really ride with, is the Stetson Bennett over 10.5 rushing yards. Finally, since it is a Big Pick Energy Friday, going to try to always give you a Friday play so you don't have to wait until Monday. We're going to go to the hardwoods. We're going to take Toledo, and we're going to lay the 15.5. And Toledo, to be honest, a little came into the year thinking that you were going to be one of the better teams in the MAC. No, they're kind of a little bit middling. Definitely not at the front of the league. But Western Michigan is 1-10. Now, Chip, I know you're saying this Western Michigan team, they just covered against Iowa State. They just covered against Wisconsin. They just covered against Kent State. Are they getting ahead of the number? Maybe overall. But you know what else this is? Here's a number for you, 4. This is the 4th straight road game for this Western Michigan team that has won 1 of its 11. And so while they've been a nice story, cashing some tickets with these double-digit spreads, I think that run comes to an end in their 4th straight road game. Toledo needs to get right, and they've got a good opponent to get right. So I'll take Toledo, and I'll lay the 15.5. And from the chat, somebody said, hey, what are we doing with the FCS National Championship game? And I tell you that you don't give points to a dynasty. We take North Dakota State and we take those points because you don't give plus points to a dynasty. Bison, let's go. Let's
go. A little bonus. Now, as you were doing that unbelievably incredible 3 minutes of content, I had to sit here in my own, because we do our homework, right? And sometimes, especially when you do a morning show, maybe you read stuff and it may be from the night before or whatever, but the chat always takes care of us. But I'm going to fine myself for giving out misinformation. But M Squared's in the chat, hooked me up. The chat's in the chat, hooked me up. So I'm fining myself, but I'm staying with the Cleveland pick. So if you believe in the coach, then write coach into the chat. And if it does go over tonight, 2 lucky people, 2, will win $100 from me. I'm finding myself. If it goes over 221.5, you will win with me. All right. So I got $100 to somebody because I just feel bad about the buckets thing. And then tonight, if you're going to roll with me, even though Donovan Mitchell, even though Garland is out, I'm begging these places to do some. Oh, I'm so. See, they believe in me. The chat believes in me. Actually, they don't. They just want to play. But hey, we try to make it fun here. It's not always just about the picks. We have fun. Should be fun to play together. Plus, that number, I don't care if it's me, Buckets, and Chip. Like he said, I think we can get over 221.5 against Denver. You're never going to find a number that low. All right. Chip, everybody wants a showdown with you on the national championship.
I told you about the one thing that I'll go to war for is Stetson Bennett. The rest of it's like, man, there's a lot of different ways to cut this. I ain't going showdown on a game like this. I'm gonna be there. I don't want to be like logging into Venmo from the press box, having to fire off a cool hundo. No, the one that I feel good about is that Kirby Smart will not let Stetson Bennett play around and lose this game. He's going to tell him, if you don't see that first read, take off.
All right. By the way, did you hear my story the other day about the betting the over at the club at my club in the TCU Michigan game? We bet the over at 55, and then second half, remember how fast they scored? Mm-hmm. We bet the over 8 different times. The highest one being 93.5, and still cashed all 8. It was the craziest betting moment of my career ever. And now I'm a hero at the club. All those old rich guys, yeah, they love me at the club now. By the way, many of you mentioning in the chat, you loved our initial golf show that starts every single Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We had a little first-round leader yesterday, Jon Rahm. But there's a lot of great picks there. We're going to do it every single Wednesday, 3 p.m. If you haven't watched it yet, you can still get some information that you can use for a round 2. And I will be releasing a round 2 pick in just a little bit on my Twitter page. All right. With all that being said, what a good show today. Grab your paper. Grab your pencil. Here is the recap, courtesy of the Snake. And chips on Toledo, minus 15.5. That's college hoops. Then TCU in the national championship game. We're going under Georgia TCU, 62.5. And then Stetson Bennett over 10.5 rush yards, minus 115. Then buckets, Strasburg and Cutters. Both teams to score minus 110. He also said he wouldn't mind over 2.5 if your book does not have both teams to score. Then Benfica Lisbon, first half over 1.5. Then if you're going to catch with me, we're going to do... Bro, it's how I do it. Don't laugh at how I pronounce it. You can't even spell these teams. All right, Pacers, money line, Cavs, Nuggets, over 221.5. And hopefully, if it hits, 2 lucky winners of a cool $100 from yours boy for finding himself for misinformation. Then the Knicks, +4 in Toronto to take on the Raptors. We'll take the Knicks +4 tonight. Early Edge and 5, special start time today at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then our props extravaganza, 4 p.m. Eastern time. See ya, Prop Stars and Uncle Dave. With all that being said, there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets straight to the pay window. For my entire crew, love them all. Chip, Buckets, the Snake on the 1s and 2s. I am the coach. We're here every single day. If you want to be bored, not have a good time, be taken too seriously, go somewhere else. That's not what we're about right here at the Early Edge. Good luck.